Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Through the Fog podcast with me. I'm Pierre, and this is a special episode with my friend Nic. You might know Nic from Nic Harry Socks. And we just decided we wanted to hang out. And then I said, well, why don't we record our sort of hanging out session just as a podcast? And if the session is really cool and if we have cool stuff to say to each other, then it might make a really great episode. And it did. So I met Nic at the Lacquer Network, which we are both part of, at the summit early this year, and we headed off immediately, and he became like my new bestie. And yeah, we just have a lot to say to each other. He's a super, super interesting human, a entrepreneur of note, having founded businesses since he was 16, and now he resides in Amsterdam and has built some interesting new things we talk about on the show or in the episode. And we talk about time, about burnout, about AI, about art, about just all sorts of different topics and things. Really interesting and fun conversation. And I've included a lot of sort of links in the show notes that you can go and check out, and all the stuff that Nic is busy building. And I know that you're going to love this episode. So here is my conversation, hangout session with Nic. Hey, Nic.
Yo, what's up, Pierre? How are you?
Good. I just got back from CrossFit, so I'm feeling fresh.
I mean, listen, are you also vegan?
I am not, because that would create some sort of weird anomaly, and I wouldn't know what to talk about first.
That's how black holes start.
Right? Yeah, like it creates this gravitational pull, and then.
I mean, you walked right into that one. Like that was the first thing you said.
Well, I did. I love going to CrossFit. It's I recently learned that I am sensory seeking. This is something we can chat about as well. That I'm sensory seeking, and it's a friend of mine, Anna-Marie Lombard, and she is an occupational therapist, and she did her PhD in sensory intelligence, and then she's developed this really great. So this has changed my life in the last kind of month or so. So she's developed this great tool that assesses whether you're sensory seeking or sensory avoidant. So the one that most people are familiar with is people are sensory avoidant. So you normally see the kids with the headphones or taste or touch or that kind of thing. But the opposite of it is true as well. Some people are sensory seeking. So I am mostly sensory seeking. So it measures all 5 of your senses plus movement. And mine are mostly all above the line. So it's from -10 to +10. And which means that the way your nervous system calms down, if I understand this correctly, is by extra input. If you don't have enough input, then your brain goes into almost anxiety mode, and you can become anxious or depressed, which is really interesting. Because we know the opposite is true. When people are overstimulated, they freak out, but the same is true for people that get understimulated.
This is interesting. I mean, how I'm going to be, this is going to set the tone for the rest of our conversation. I'm going to be the default scientific skeptic here and just be is this just her thesis or is this neurologically sound? And I'm not challenging her. I'm just interested because I think I'm similar, but I've been told, and it's worked for me, that the example is I have music on all the time. But recently, in the last 6 months after my burnout and recovering from burnout, I've started to find that is a mechanism for me to distract myself from my thoughts. Okay, it's not that I'm saying, it's more like a coping mechanism. That's where I'm coming. My question comes from. It's is this science? Because sounds right. Obviously, if there's people who crave silence, there should be people who crave sensory exploration. Really interesting.
It's really interesting. I mean, she literally did a PhD in it, and she's been running this full-on business. So what they do in the business is they would measure the sensory intelligence of a whole team. And then they would go, well, what does your team need in order to be productive? And what does the spaces need to look like? So for example, people who are sensory seeking really should not be working remote. That's terrible for them.
Oh, of course, because you're isolated in a dark room on your own. I call it my empty room theory. It's impossible to sit in an empty room with no doors, no windows, and no stimulation and expect to come up with a good idea. It's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. And I think it's a similar thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's super interesting. So now what I've realized is the reason I like CrossFit, I've been doing it for like 10 years, is that it incorporates touch because and movement. So so they measure 5 senses and movement. So CrossFit has got movement, it's got touch because you're in it with other people and you like fist bump and like slapping the back and that sort of like really feeling your body is massively important for me to calm my nervous system down. Like the opposite is not true. So for me, often if I had a hectic week and I've been traveling and I've been working super, super hard, my wife would be like, let's just stay calm this weekend. Like, let's just hang out at the house and we just do nothing. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. I want to go out. I want to meet people. I want to go hug my friends. I want to go move. I want to go shove food into my mouth that's really kind of tasty.
And like, so do you consider yourself an extrovert? Are these things tied together?
Yeah, they do. I mean, Anna-Marie says one of the things she has got this like bugbear against is this idea of introvert and extrovert, because she says it's not introvert and extrovert. It's either seeking or avoidant. So I sort of sit in the middle. Like I get energized by people, but I also need like my alone time. And what's weird is like I have this thing where my sound one is both seeking and avoided, which means it fluctuates. It fluctuates dependent on the environment. So sometimes I want like loud music and I want like all this stuff. And then sometimes I just want silence. And it also has to do with whether or not I'm in control of the noise. Like if I'm the one putting on the music, that's fine. But like at events, and my wife laughs at me so much because at events, like when it gets really noisy, especially when people start drinking, like when they start drinking after the talk and it's like half an hour and you just hear that like sound level pick up because now the first drink is like kicked in. I would stand in a group of people speaking and the next thing, like somebody would be speaking to me and I would just turn around and walk away. And like literally like leave the room and realize it's like, what the hell are you doing? This is so rude. And it's like my body says, I am getting you out of here. Like we are leaving. And then I would go and stand outside the venue.
I relate so hard. My poor partner, I have left restaurants. I've left movies. I have left events. She was literally telling me about one that I forgot about. We were at Black Coffee last year. Amsterdam turns into an entire dance club, the whole of Amsterdam for 1 week in the year. It's called Amsterdam Dance Event, ADE. And Black Coffee, my favorite EDM DJ, he's amazing. Everybody knows him. But he only started at like 1 a.m. And at 2 a.m., he's still got another hour to go. I just looked at my partner and I was like, I'm out. She was like, what do you mean? And it's because the people who were standing around us weren't interested in Black Coffee. They were just talking and having a fun time. Not their fault. They were just having a fun time. But I was like, the best DJ in the world is playing. Shut up and focus. And I couldn't overcome it because the noise and the sound. So I relate so hard to that.
Yeah.
I've started to say to my partner, those are the downsides of being Nic, but every group needs a Nic. Every group needs a person. And I'll tell you what that means in the positive is, when you're at a picnic with 20 people, everybody's ready to go, but nobody wants to be the person to leave first. I do. All the time. I'm the guy. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going. So cool. Thanks. This is me. I'm done now. So I relate so hard to that.
You're that guy. You can be the icebreaker, the first
literally the breaker. Yeah.
Anyway, dude. So what is on your radar at the moment? What are you thinking about? Thinking about?
There's a lot. So I'm in this really interesting transitionary phase in my life and my career. I've just quit my job. And for the first time in 3.5 years, I'm fun employed. Which is an interesting, it's worth telling a slight backstory to this because it's an interesting thing for me. My last job of actual employment was when I was 20-ish, 2021. So that is 21 years ago that I had a permanent job at Vodafone in South Africa. And about 6 years ago, I had a crisis of entrepreneurship. I started my first business when I was 16 and I've been building businesses just as a default, as a part of my identity from 16 to 36, so 20 years. And after my third very brutal exit, I was severely burned out, wasn't in love with my co-founders. and immigrated to London, and I just broke. I asked myself, are you really as good at this thing as you think you are? Are you really a good business person? Are you a good entrepreneur? And honestly, I couldn't answer that in the positive. So I happened to read something at the start of that year. And ever since, I've picked a word for the year and I try and embody that word. But the phrase that really spun me at that time was choose the path of least expectation.
Ooh.
And yeah. And for
Say
me,
that again. Choose the
path of least expectation.
Least expectation. That sounds like a Garfield quote. Like,
yeah, and
the key to
it really
happiness is lowering your expectations.
Yes, and what really hit me with that was I was on a path to being an entrepreneur until I died, but it was killing me. And I mean that in more of a physical way than I care to admit. My entrepreneurial journey has gotten me kidney stones twice, stomach ulcer that put me in hospital. I had to drive myself to the hospital because I'd ostracized everybody around me, that there was nobody there to help me at 2 a.m. in the morning. I've lost friends from this drive and ambition and entrepreneurial thing. So I kind of had to reassess all of this. And this is all tied up in there's so much here. It's tied up in how I've just actually recorded a video on this, on how you define success. And like, I believe that foundationally, we're in a time, societally and culturally, where we are inheriting too much of our versions of success. Social media pushes us into a place where we see things we want, but we don't have the skills, the experience, the knowledge, the grind to deserve that level of success. So it's that phrase, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will always feel like a failure. That is, I believe, how I spent most of my entrepreneurial career. Just building things that other people wanted, building things that I thought the world needed, building things that I thought would get me recognition. And they did, right? I was in Forbes Africa 30 under 30, Mail and Guardian 200, Men's Health 30 men to watch, blah, flippity blah. Just on an aside, Pierre, am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
Okay, fine. I mean, you never know. I can not swear, but I like to. And like, that's kind of what's been occupying my brain at the moment, is this idea of success and whose version of success is it? And is it the one that I want? And is it the one that's making me happy? And can employment get me there? And so after this crisis of faith in my entrepreneurial abilities and seeing this thing where I wanted to choose the path of least expectation, for me, the path of least expectation was to get a job. So I did. And let me tell you, I make it sound easy. It was brutal. It's the first time in 20 years I'd written a CV. And as a founder, as a founder, I didn't know how, and I didn't know what would be valuable. And I obviously didn't do it very well because I must have sent out 80 different applications. I got 3 responses and no interviews. None. After 20 years in the job market creating things. And so I reached out to founders and whatever, and I got a job eventually in a company that I have shares in and whatever, but skip past that part. Employment has taught me a lot of interesting things, but it also burned me out. I had very severe burnout for 8 months. We can talk about that and how that works in the Netherlands, because it is astonishing how they protect human beings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I'll happily tell you. So the rules are very specific and legally pretty firm that a company in the Netherlands, once an employee is identified as burned out, needs to put that employee on burnout leave. That means that they must pay you your full salary for up to a year and 75% of your salary for the second year if you're still burned out 2 years in a row. And the government gives you a mandated company doctor that is the intermediary between you and your business, so that the business doesn't check up on you, because that's seen as putting pressure on you unnecessarily to recover. And they book you off. And so I was booked off basically for 7 months. I came back when I was ready. And that was a brutal time. I've never experienced burnout in the way that I did this time. My brain was broken. I couldn't remember words. I cried when I needed to make decisions because I was so overwhelmed by the idea of choosing something. And I pride myself on my brain's ability to think. It's one of the things that I'm happy that I can do. And so it was a really tough 7 months, but it was very informative. Like, you lose your sense of identity. And I don't know if you or your listeners can relate to this, but from the age of 16, I considered myself to be an entrepreneur. That was my identity. That's who I became. That's the only thing I thought I knew how to do. And then when you are burned out and you are not allowed to create anything, you can't physically do anything that is valuable in the world. what is your identity like that for 7 months?
Yeah.
And I can tell it's a puddle. It's a puddle. Your identity becomes a puddle because the thing that I value my self-worth on is output and outcome and making the world a better place. And I was forced for 7 or 8 months to not do that. So yeah, it's been an interesting trip. That's kind of what's on my mind. And then I'll stop talking shortly. And then an outcome of that is, okay, if you aren't employed anymore, what is it that you want to do? And I'm kind of in that world of, what do I want to do? What does success look like for me? How do I tee up the next 10 or 15 years? What does a day look like for me where I have fun? What is a week structured? And I'm not listing random things. I'm literally now looking at my day and going, okay, well, do I want to work 8 hours a day? Who made up that number? Why is it 8 hours? Okay, is a work week 5 days a week? Well, no. Who told me that? That seven. I don't want to be too crazy about this, but time is made up. Days are made up. 7 days of work are made up. 5 days of work are made up. Nobody ever said this is the real world. The earth spins on an axis is not made up, but our time is. So I'm in a very ethereal, questioning, philosophical phase of trying to figure out what success looks like for me, how to achieve that and how to make it sustainable, while also battling with the idea of AI in the world. Because I do believe that that is something worth factoring into any future plans that I make as an entrepreneur, a product builder, a keynote speaker. All of these things are being impacted by AI in differing levels, but in very fundamental and significant ways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. There's so much there. Like, it's really interesting, the burnout conversation. And because I obviously move in this realm of founders and entrepreneurs and business owners, and it's so real because it's so hard. And then one of my little hobbies is collecting sayings from founders about what it's like to be a founder and what it's like to be a business, what it's like to run a business. And Sam Skyring from Oryx, she wouldn't mind me telling the story. Like, she says, running a business or founding a business is like pushing a peanut up a hill with your nose. It's like, that's what it's like.
That's funny.
Brilliant. And then Nick Dreyer, who is another mate of mine, he started Veldskun, and he says, like, when he talks about it, you can just see his whole body like drops, and he goes, it's an assault. He's like, entrepreneurship is an assault. He's like, it's an assault on your life. It's an assault on your health. It's an assault on your family. It's like, it's an assault on your very, very
and it doesn't have to be. And I spent the first 20 years of being an entrepreneur thinking that that is the only way to build. One of my best friends is, and I want to come back to talking about Dave, and he gave me a pep talk yesterday that I think is necessary.
Okay.
But he's the reason in my life why people say you should have friends that are better than you, more ambitious than you, have achieved more. He's a professional Ferrari racing driver. He also runs a full 80-person startup in the sim racing world. He's building a sim racing game. And he and I, for years, I've known him for 15, 17 years. For years, we have said the same thing about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is eating glass and staring into the abyss.
Yeah.
That's it. You've just got to eat glass and stare into the abyss until something works. And it's this, the tolerance of an entrepreneur to be able to eat glass and stare into the abyss, because most of the time it's what you do.
It's very true. And I would like to hear how you think it could be different, because work is fascinating to me. It's one of the things that I think about quite often, like the nature of work, and why do we do it, and why do we keep on doing it. And I was listening to our kind of mutual friend Rich Mulholland did a talk at the Trist the other day on the future, really about the future of work, and this idea of 8 hours and how long must you work. And I would love to hear what you think. Like, how do you think it could be different? Because entrepreneurship, for me at least, like the success factor really has to do with how long can you stay in the game. So how long can you keep on pushing until luck arrives?
How long can you eat glass and stare into the abyss? Yeah.
Until luck arrives. So like Andrew Smith as well, like one of my East co-founded Yap Chef, and he talks about if you could just stay. Like, how long can you hold on? Because eventually luck will arrive. Like, something will happen. You'll meet somebody. You'll make a deal.
Yeah.
Some weird thing will happen, and then it'll grow. But staying in it that long, sure, dude, like, it's hard. It's very hard.
There's so much wrapped up in this. So let's talk about the idea of work. And I think it's intimately tied to the conversation I started having with you earlier about success. I think that it's a trickle-down effect, right? I've raised a shit ton of money for VC-backed startups in my time. And once you do that, everything else trickles down from there in that world. So if you raise venture capital, then you have to do one thing only, and you have to focus on that because now you have other people's money. It also means, which most founders don't understand, is you're expected to return 10x their money in 5 years. So now you're on a path. Now you're on a path where your version of success is defined by venture capital's payback. And it's all monetary, it's all financial, and it is nothing else. One of my worst phrases in the world of business is, oh, what's your head count? How many staff do you employ? Well, one, they're human beings. And two, why is that a measure of success? So I think that our work days are informed by outdated ideas of what success is. So a successful day is your company incentivizes you to work 8 hours. They reward you emotionally if you work 12 hours because you get the little thumbs up. And then they keep you on the treadmill by giving you more things to do, giving you a slight increase or whatever. That means that you work the 8 days a week. And then on the other 2 days a week, you try and recover or you put in an extra few hours. I think that foundationally, this is being shaken up. Because one, we're getting our work done faster. And there's actually building a talk around this idea. My keynotes at the moment are focused on why smart and capable people stop showing up. And I think it has a lot to do with all of these things that are tied together, is that we're starting to realize that working 12 hours a day for somebody else isn't actually sustainable when those businesses are likely to retrench you, reinvest in AI, retrench more people, reinvest in AI, and keep that cycle going until they have a tenth of the staff. It's also changing because AI is helping us do our jobs faster, and we're being incentivized to do our jobs faster, not better. Nobody is incentivized to solve customer problems as best as they can. They're being incentivized to solve customer problems as fast and efficiently as they can to lower margins and increase profits. That defines how your workday looks. And I've also had this conversation with Rich, and he's got some great ideas that like companies should just give their staff a Friday. He's done that at Missing Link. His staff get Friday off to work on anything they want. And his logic is so sound. Because then, and I'm this person, when I was working at Yoko, I would go on my own time, do my own businesses in the evenings and weekends, and then bring those skills back into the company. That's the ideal outcome of giving your people a fifth day free. But the truth is, that is an inefficient capital model for a company. You're then removing your people from generating income for 1 day a week. So the model is broken. And this is kind of where I found myself. And it's why I'm reassessing everything. So let's just talk entrepreneurially, not employment. From the perspective of an entrepreneur, if your measure of success is purely monetary, it's purely how much money you can acquire, that is totally acceptable. I have no problem with that. That's your measure of success. Just be honest about it and then figure out how many hours, days, minutes, weeks, months, what you have to do to acquire as much money as you possibly can. I'm almost certain that when you have your $200 million and that's your goal, you'll still be an unhappy asshole. That's your deal to figure out, right? That's up to you. But I think the thing that I'm wanting people to do and what I'm doing is understanding what is it that I consider successful and how does that inform my day-to-day work? And it's a hard thing to unravel. Because for 20 years, it's been like, okay, you got to sit at your computer, you got to send out sales leads, you got to book this thing, you got to get, and it's got to grow and grow and grow and grow. And now I'm indexing on joy, curiosity, and flow state. I'm trying to figure out if I died in 10 years and all I did was chase a bigger business, would that mean that I was happy? Fuck no. Like unequivocally no. But if I die in 10 years and I've read philosophy books from 300 years ago and I've built 20 businesses and I've traveled the world and I've had lots of fun relationships and I've made friends and lost friends, the joy of my life, the goal, and I've written this, we can talk about my Nicisms document. I've got a Nicisms document of things that I've learned that I don't want to relearn. And I've written down a mantra, like what a good life means to me. And for me, Pierre, the simple truth is the one line, a successful life is experiencing it. That's it for me, not for everybody. And what I mean by that is experiencing as much of it as possible. So happiness is one version of success, but a successful life without sadness isn't a successful life. A successful life without loss isn't a successful life. I believe that all of these things need to be hunted out and experienced. So I'm not indexing for make as much money as I can in a life. I don't care about money. I care about having enough. And the Dutch are very good at this. Being in Amsterdam has taught me a lot. They just want to have enough money to do what they want to do, enough friends so that they don't have to be overwhelmed, enough, like they just want enough. And I think there's something to that. This American propaganda that we must have more, we must accrue everything, we must beat everyone into everything. I don't buy it. And I don't think it's sustainable, for me at least.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, instead of indexing for my business needs to be as big as possible, I'm now leaning more towards the base camp idea. I don't know if you come across Ghost, the hosting platform from John O'Nolan. These guys, John O'Nolan's business is incredible. He turned his business into an NPO, and it is now I want to say it's an NPO, but I think it's a non-profit sustainable enterprise or whatever. It pays him a salary that he needs, doesn't need more money than that. All the profits go back into the community. It's now big enough that it's sustainable. It's a lovely way to look at the world. I think my point here is there is no single brush that you can paint all businesses with, all entrepreneurs with. The key for me is individualistic context. What do you want out of your business and life? I don't think enough of us consider that. We just adopt it and go, oh yeah, this is what it is to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because we just outsource. I think one of the things, I mean, this is the stuff that I think about all the time now, is identity. So identity and desire, and how those two things are linked to each other. And then how often our identity is just co-opted by brands, by socials, by culture, by a million
by materialistic desire. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, this is what it means to be successful. And then you hit these things. I mean, it's like the classic thing, like keeping up with the Joneses. Because I'm an entrepreneur, I need to want these things. And so often when I sit and coaching a couple of founders and like really early stage, like startups, and then they want stuff, they want to go for this Series A. And I was like, why? Why do you want that? Because that's what the roadmap says. You're like, but it's not your roadmap.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what that comes with? Like the expectation. And now you're diluting and diluting and diluting. And eventually, like, you're just shackled to the thing and you're still not profitable. Like, it's a mess. And I'm going, why do you want that? You only want that because you think that's the way, because you've watched, I don't know, Silicon Valley or something. And now you think that this is what I should be doing. And it's
propaganda.
Not that. Like, it's not that. It's very much that. And it's, I mean, and there's a whole study. I came across a video yesterday where it's talking about beauty standards as an example, how we desire, so women shaving their legs, right? So now, and the guy talked about how Gillette actually went on a mission to get women to shave their legs because they're selling freaking razors. So that's, they sort of, there was a trend for people to do it, but then they went, if you're a woman, then you are shaving your legs, right? Because they're creating the market. And it's like super fascinating. It's the same with Rich told this story. We're talking a lot about Rich today. We should just like invite him in. He told the story about
had enough
how
of that guy. I'm just kidding.
The cigarette manufacturers were like, women weren't smoking in the 50s. And then the cigarette manufacturers went after women saying, this is the patriarchy. They don't want you to smoke, right? If you smoke, and the guy actually called cigarettes freedom sticks.
I remember the freedom sticks. Yeah.
Freedom sticks, right? And he's like, then you can like stick it to the man with like smoking just to get them to desire this. Like, it's mad, right? But once you start to lift up and you can become aware of that and going, but wait a minute, whose life am I actually living? Like, what do I actually want? Like and that's the question that I spend. That's all my work now. It's just about that. It's just about that question. What do I want to do?
Yeah. It feels like that's peeking behind the matrix, right? It's something, if you haven't done a lot of therapy, then you struggle. I think lots of people struggle with this, but through therapy, I've been able to learn how to observe myself when I'm doing stuff. Because my therapist will often ask me, well, what did you think when that was happening? Or what did you feel when that was happening? And so I've started to try and observe myself when I've been going through these ideas. And I'm not happy when I'm chasing somebody else's idea of success. I'm not happy when I'm flicking through social media. I'm not in my best state when I'm chasing money. And if only more people could observe when they are the most content and happy, and when they're doing something that used to make them happy, why it isn't anymore. And I'll give you a really good example. The Foo Fighters came to Cape Town 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I can't even remember. It was a long time ago. And I walked. It's my favorite band. I've been listening to them since I was a kid. Amazing. And in the first 3 minutes, I took my phone out to film the concert. And I looked around and everybody else was doing the same. And dude, it hit me like a brick to the face. I put my phone away. Yeah. And from that day, I've never filmed another concert I've ever been to. Yeah. Because the experience of going there, being there, listening, letting the sensory overload wash over you, that's why you go to concerts. Today, people go to Coachella to tell people they've been to Coachella. I will never go to that fucking festival, even though my best bands are there, because of the people who want to show the world they're there instead of be there. There's something really intrinsic in this. Like, are you experiencing life or are you experiencing it through a lens? And
exactly right.
AI, for me, AI has done a lot of heavy lifting here in challenging people about their identities and their work and what they're good at. Because if you used to identify as somebody who is a great grammatical editor, well, ChatGPT is better than you. Like, what are you then? Like, what are you then? And I want to, the other thing that this week I've been obsessing over is this paragraph that I read from Kevin Kelly that I've must have read 50 times to different people in different contexts that I think is so foundational. I don't think he even understands how deeply insightful it is about the future of the world. Do you know who Kevin Kelly is?
I have no idea. What is the paragraph?
So Kevin,
maybe I can find it quick.
No. I'll tell you all of it now. Kevin, I've written the paragraph down. I'm going to read it to you.
1,000 True Fans. There's the guy from 1,000 True Fans.
Kevin Kelly is the founder of Wired Magazine, its first editor. He wrote the concept of 1,000 True Fans about 20 years ago. And for those of you who don't know, his theory, 1,000 True Fans, is you don't need to win an entire market. You just need 1,000 true fans and you've basically got a business. I have followed that mantra basically for every business I've ever built. That's how it works. Get 1,000 people to love the shit that you do. In his Substack last week, he wrote this as an opening paragraph of a piece. It goes, your life's goal should be to become the most improbable person you can be. Your path, your character, your life should be the most unlikely, the most unexpected, the least predictable version you can make. Improbable lives have fewer competitors, more unique rewards, and are harder to replace with AI since AI runs on the predictable. I mean, if that is not a reason for you to stop in your tracks right now and consider what makes your life improbable, then I don't know what will. Because it's been fine for the last 60 years to do the path of expectation, to go on the road, to get the job, to have one income, to have 2 kids, to then be able to afford a house, to retire at 50 or 60. That is not true anymore. That is not true. The expected path is outdated and gone. Like the fact that most children are studying for degrees that probably won't exist when they're in the job market, and they're looking for jobs that don't exist today. The world is unexpected. And the more you can brace yourself for the unexpected and become unpredictable, I believe the better your life will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, so for me, and people fight me on this. I cannot tell you how many times. So in the strategy work that I do, I always tell people like strategy is fundamentally about deciding how you're going to be different. And then people are like, that's not a strategy. I'm like, that is strategy. Because in the minds of most people, strategy is how can we be cheaper? How can we be faster? Or how can we be nicer? Like better customer service.
I love that. Yeah,
I was like, that's not what strategy is. Strategy is how are you going to show up different? Because if you are going to play the cheaper, faster, nicer game, you're going to head to a freaking cliff because you can only be so cheap before the bottom falls out. You can only be so fast as the current tech allows. And that's a really interesting thing now with AI, right? So one of my best mates, also a Nic, I surround myself with Nics for some reason. Like
are they all Greek?
Greek. He's very
because I mean,
he's very freaking English. He's like Nicholas.
So no, I mean, just to pin the point, the reason I ask is because my life is like the big fat Greek wedding. My grandfather's name was Nic. I have 3 cousins named Nic. Like that's life.
Nic.
Sorry,
Nic,
going back to it. Yeah.
Nic. Anyway, so Nic, the other Nic, Nic with a K. So he said that he's a founder as well, 2 kind of biggish businesses. And he said, it's so frustrating now because the game has turned up like 3 notches, the speed of the game. And he's just like working 12, 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, grinding to keep up with the competition because everybody just went, like everything just sort of like sped up. And the thing is, like, you cannot keep on playing that game. And this is what I shout at people all the time. I'm like, if you think that's strategy, like that, you can play it, but you're going to freaking suffer. There was this really cool example of a grocery delivery service in the EU that said, we can do it under 12 minutes, right? Everybody's doing 60 minutes. We can do under 12. And guess what happened? Like, they don't
10.
exist anymore. Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Somebody said 10 minutes, yeah.
And you can't, there's the limit to how fast a freaking scooter can go and how somebody can pick a, I don't know, bottle of milk. So cheaper, faster, nicer is not a good game. So exiting that game and starting to be different, to be like uniquely you. Like, what does your business do that's really unique? What do you do that's really unique? Like, because I mean, fundamentally, like if I can predict what you will do next week, I can automate that. Like that's where we're going. So if I know that these are the things you're going to do, I can automate that. But if you surprise me, like you said, and I love the way you phrased it, like that's super exciting to me. And I keep telling this to my kids as well, right? Because they're on the verge of leaving school. Yeah. And now do they go study? Like, what do they do? What is AI going to do? And my thing is just like, be weird. Like, be weird. I stuck this thing in our fridge. I keep on doing little post-its for them, things that I find. And one of the things that I stuck on there is now dress well, stay weird, make art, confuse people. Like, that's like be you, because then you exit the game. Good. Like, it's the classic blue ocean, red ocean strategy idea, but it's more than that. Like, even as a human being, dude, like,
I think that's the more important one, Pierre, is it's easy, you and I both speakers in the business world, so it's easy to fall into the blue ocean, red ocean corporate thing, but there's a big part of me that is starting to believe that the next 20 years is going to be defined more by individualistic observation than by larger corporate business, whatever. That if humans can start to understand what they are about, then they'll follow less of the trends. They'll be less interested in materialistic stuff, the Kardashians and that kind of success, because it is fleeting and makes you unhappy. And it's the same with the entrepreneurial jumping on the treadmill that needs to be faster because of AI. I love what you said about strategy is how you choose to be different, because if you don't do that, then it's not a strategy, you're just copying.
Yeah.
You're taking somebody else's strategy and just doing it cheaper. That's not a strategy. That is a responsive business move that you make to counter someone, right? It's only the paranoid survive type of shit. I don't know if you've read that book, but I hated it.
No.
I hated it.
We hated it.
I hate it. And I hate the premise behind it. And I think it's all about context. Like, I mean, you get the idea just from the title of the book that only the paranoid survive. The basic premise is you have to think that everybody's out to get you. And I think that there are businesses, like if you're Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, there are probably people out to get you. But I am Nic. I am one person in Amsterdam that runs a business of one. What do I need to be paranoid about? It's the opposite. You need to be, and I hate to be cliched about this, but it's that abundant versus scarcity approach to the world. If you, in the world of AI, if you approach your business from a scarcity perspective, you are going to say, I need to use AI to be more efficient. That's not the way that this is going to win. That'll stave off the end for a bit. But efficiencies are not going to make your business better, because those efficiencies, you're only looking second order effect down, right? What about third and fourth order effects? And I read an article that went around a few months ago about, it was a sci-fi predictive article written by a very bullish AI investor, a traditional investor who's investing heavily in AI, but it was anti-AI. And it basically said, well, what happens if everything we say about AI comes true in the next 2 years? It never will, but what if it does? What if the world doesn't need to work, and what happens? And one of the things that really shook me, that really made me think about where I want to invest my time, is AI is going to optimize and make efficient everything that humans struggle to put in their brains. So the example is, insurance exists in the margins to make us overwhelmed by all of the admin required to make the insurance valuable for us. AI does that admin in a blink. AI does mortgage applications in a blink. AI can help you with financial transactions in a blink. There is no more middleman efficiencies to be gained with AI anymore. So when that happens, where does banking go? Where do mortgages go? Where does insurance go? When there is no need for Visa and MasterCard to take their 3% or 4% or 10%. what happens when those efficiencies are gone? And I think it's the same thing that we should be looking at with AI in our businesses and in our lives is, okay, the efficiencies aren't the fun thing. The efficiencies are great, but what does it help me bring out into the world? And you use the word art. And I'm really focused on that word at the moment because I've been reading Rick Rubin's book. Have you read it?
Oh, yeah, Creative Habit.
Yeah, I hated it. I hate the book. I think it's
I've got it. I
terribly
haven't read
written. Yeah, I think it's terribly written. I don't like the structure, the narrative, whatever. He's too ethereal. He's too successful to have written this book now. But listening to him talk is a whole different game. The man is on a tear of brilliance. Like, honestly, everything he says, and he was recently interviewed on David Senra's podcast. David Senra is the guy who does the Founders podcast. And Rick Rubin, it's obvious advice. It really is. Anybody who's in art understands this, but you forget when you get out of producing things just for the fun of it. But do you know much about Rick Rubin?
Not a lot. I mean, I know of him and I know he's a producer and I'm just Googling him as we speak. But
there's some important context, right? So I'll give you the important context. He started Def Jam Records when he was 19. He plays punk rock guitar badly. So he can't really play an instrument. And he is probably one of the most prolific producers in the world. He's got 8 Grammy Awards. He did Adele's album that won a Grammy. He calls himself a reducer, not a producer, because he believes that his job is to reduce and edit. And here's how he does it. It's really simple. He reduces things that he wants to listen to. That's it. When David Senra asked him at 19, you're a white dude from New York. At 19, how did you know or think that you could produce a hip hop album? And he said, it's really simple. I was going into the hip hop clubs and this music was insane, like filled with energy. And then I was listening to the albums and it was clean and refined and perfect. And he said, what I wanted to listen to wasn't in the world.
Oh, wow.
And Pierre, it shook me because I've been struggling with this idea of why would anybody listen to my opinion? There are more successful business owners. Why would anybody listen to my views? Because they're more successful philosophers. Rick Rubin's approach to this is really simple. I like what I like and the world needs to hear it. I think the world must know that this thing exists, and I only create so that I can listen to this thing in the world. And the irony is when he says that, he's like, by the time I've finished producing an album, I've listened to it so many times, I never listen to it again. And I totally get that. But this for me is such a foundational shift in the way that I believe entrepreneurs should be looking at their businesses. It's the way that I'm rethinking mine. And it's obvious to anybody who's done this successfully is when you love the thing you've produced, not the acts. I don't mean that, oh, you love every day of your work, you never work again. I think that's bullshit advice. Like, I think that every day of work is hard and you have to, love it or not, grind. But if you love the thing you've produced, then it doesn't matter who sees it. It doesn't matter how many views you get. It doesn't matter when you publish. It's just that you love the thing and it belongs in the world. And I love that. And that's really been occupying my brain a lot because I'm getting back into producing content and writing. And I mean, I studied journalism and I've written 3 books. So getting back into the writing thing, but it's hard because why? Why would anybody listen? What do I have that's special? And that doesn't matter. It's just about getting the reps in and putting your art into the world.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because I remember Rick Rubin posting that because he had this really weird Instagram account where he only does like one post and then deletes the previous ones. And then, so if you go into his I don't know if it's still like that. If you go
everything he does, just so left of center.
I'm like, sometimes you can be just like, don't be a dick, dude. Just like, what the hell? But he posted, make it for you, and then share it with the world. It comes down to, and then I got really annoyed at it. And I was like, no. You have to make stuff for them. And I actually screenshotted the thing and I scratched out the you and I wrote in them and reposted it and said, I fixed it.
Okay, say more because I don't agree with you on that.
I know, like, but I think it's a paradox.
Yeah.
So I think both can be true. I mean, that was a couple of years ago, and I think I've changed my mind. And it's also the difference between art and design. There's a long conversation here between between art and design. Like making art is one of my best definitions for art, or the difference between art and design. So I come from a fashion design background, and then at the moment I also collect art, and we kind of love art and make art every now and again. But design is the reply to a need. So there's a need out in the world and you make something to fill that need. So the classic kind of business idea. Like there's a need, I fill the problem, I do the thing, right? The people want this, I can fill this gap. And then, but art is the need to reply, to say that I want to say something to the world. I'm not replying to a need. I have a need to reply. And I always thought that was a really clever way of sort of distinguishing the two. But at the same time, there's also businesses, some of the best businesses in the world are things that like, I want this. Like, I want this thing to exist because I need it. And I've done that. There was like years ago, we had Human Rights, the notebook business. And then there was an app that I loved. And then this app got sort of canned by, I think Squarespace made it or somebody. And I was like, I really use this app. It's like a simple app where you write a note and you flick up and it emails the note to you.
Yes.
Right. So if you're on the go and you're like, oh, I thought of this idea, I thought of this, you just quickly write it, flick it. And then when you come back to your inbox, all your little notes are there. And we use this thing like every day. And then they cancel the app. And I was like, I want this freaking app. So I went and found an app developer and convinced them to build it for us for free. You know how like expensive apps are to build, right? To build it for us for free, because Human Rights also had this kind of social side to it where we were giving books away for kids.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah?
Do you know that my partner, Jen, was employed, the first employee for Human Rights? Jen designed the color book and the whole book that was given away, the NPL arm. That was her. That. She found the school and she built the books and she did everything. Yeah.
I do. That's amazing. Yeah, because I took it over a couple of years ago. I mean, a couple of years after that, because it was sort of dormant.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And then I did my best to try and resurrect it and failed miserably.
It's a tough business. Yeah.
It was super tough, dude. I just got caught in this loop of economies of scale. And that was just that I just couldn't get out of that loop.
Physical
anyway,
stuff.
But then
never again.
I was like, I wanted this freaking app. So then eventually I convinced these people to build this app for us with the premise, well, we're doing all this good stuff for the kids. And, it's like, you can do good stuff for them as well. I just wanted this app. And then they made it. And we had the Human Rights app because it's like note taking. We had the Human Rights app and I did what I wanted. And then afterwards I was like, cool, now I've got it back on my phone. Done. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And that's good enough though, right? Like, why shouldn't that be good enough? And I do love your idea of for them or for you, and that I think you're right. It isn't either or. Like everything in the world, it is gray in the middle. And I think that they're good examples of both things coming to the world. And I actually have 3 on the top of my head that I wrote down here. And I think it's worth going through them quickly to see the difference and how they can all be successful. The first one, we mentioned David Senra. Have you his podcast, Founders?
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, what he does is he reads books obsessively and he'll read them 7, 8 times. He'll make notes in the books and then he will talk on a podcast with himself about the book and the highlights. And he'll literally go through the book and his highlights, helping you understand why he believes this book is valuable. So this is purely for him. He didn't do this for anybody else. He wanted to read more books and then he started talking to himself on a podcast and over time it blew up. So he did it for himself and then out into the world turned into this real thing. Yeah. The antithesis of that, I would say, is Mr. Beast. Do you know how Mr. Beast got to be himself?
I don't know if I want to.
No. It's incredibly impressive. I think he was 11 or 12 and he started producing YouTube videos. And his first videos were wildly ridiculous. Like he read every page, every word in the dictionary. And he filmed himself doing that. He said Logan Paul's name 100,000 times and recorded himself. He watched paint dry for 3 days and recorded himself. Okay. The reason he did that was not because he wanted to do those things. It's because him and 4 or 5 other YouTubers every day would get on a call and see what the videos were doing in the algorithm. And they systematically cracked what YouTube would reward in the algorithm. That's how he got in there. It had nothing to do with what he wanted to put out into the world, right? It was purely, what do them say? Yeah. What do they say? What do they want?
Yeah.
Optimize. And I would argue that now that we've seen what Mr. Beast is, I don't think it's net good for the world because he isn't producing what he wants to see in the world. He is putting people who need money, people who need help into positions where they compete with each other for that money. It started off feeling good. Now it feels a little bit creepy to me. Okay. And then the last one I'll give you is more of a business that has this view. And if you don't follow Basecamp, you should, people listening. Jason Fried and DHH, David Hyman, whatever his name is, they produce what I would term as opinionated software. They do something that most software businesses would never in a jillion years think of doing. They do not do phased rollouts of software updates. When they have produced something that they believe is good, every single one of their customers gets it because they're Basecamp customers. And if Basecamp believes that this is the best way forward, that's what you get. And I love that because they've built into the world the software that they use, the thing that they want, the way that they want it to be. And then they find an audience of people who agree with them and buy in wholesale to what they want. And if we think back to Steve Jobs, that's how Jobs did it. He's famous for saying, don't ask the customer what they want. They don't know. I know.
Yeah.
I know what they want. And when I show it to them, they will want it too, and then they will buy it from me. I sit much more in that camp, that I believe I am smart enough, well-read enough, experienced enough to know what the fuck I want. And if I want it, somebody else in the world must. And my job, my only job, is to find those people and make them part of my community. That's it. The rest, I think, is chasing hamsters on a wheel. Like you're just running around, like you said, for the micro optimization that AI can give you. Not interested in that. I want to build things that I want in the world because I love building them. And it's hard, dude. It's hard because you got money and you got time and like all these things to balance. But yeah, it's a crazy thing.
What are you building right now, Nic?
So many things. Too many things.
I remember your Vivino app. That was like my best.
Which one?
I've told so many people about it. The Vivino app where you can rate your stash or
the weed. Yeah, the weed app. Yeah, it's called Good Weeds. You can get it at goodgoodweeds.com. Right now, it's only a web app. But yeah, that one, that is purely a plug a hole that I have. So live in Amsterdam. I'm a weed smoker and I like to know what each strand does to me, like the wine apps where you can go, oh, this wine is tannin this and that makes you feel that or whatever. But the problem with weed is you often forget because you're high.
Sort of bolt into the...
Yeah. So I have built an app where I can just keep a journal of what strands do what to my brain so that I can buy the ones that I like. Because I mean, here in Amsterdam, there are hundreds of different strains and strands you can buy. So that's like one that I'm messing around with, and that's for me, right? And you tell people, and they might use it, and over time, you know, maybe it becomes something. And I think it's worth mentioning, Pierre, that on this point, AI has changed the way that I see how we build things and why we should build them and monetize them. You mentioned that you got this app. You had to convince these people to do this app for free. Now,
to build the whole thing.
The joy of that, you know what the joy of that convincing them to do it for free was, is that anything you then charged made this product much more affordable because you didn't have to factor in the opportunity cost, the actual cost, the engineering cost, and all of that shit. You just built an app. Today, that's true for any app you build. Basically, it is almost free to build any first version of any app in the world. So why do we still charge whatever we charge for software? And I'll give you the example. My partner and I bought our apartment in Amsterdam a year ago, and it was such a wild experience that we built an app called Buy Home Helper, and it helps expats in the Netherlands buy a home and track the process. This is a fully fledged startup that if I had to have built it 5 years ago, I would have had to raise millions of dollars, hire 5 engineers, get a designer. Her and I, she's a back-end software engineer. Between the two of us, over a period of 2 months, we built this full system. And I only charge $49 a year for it. That's it. Why? And so in the past, this would be an app where you charge $20 a month, $500 a year. I don't need to charge more than $49 a month, a year. And I'll tell you why. My version of success for this app is I need to get 1,000 users a year to pay off my bond every year. That's my goal.
1,000, it's like 1,000 to feds. So it's simple.
Yeah. That's it. It's 1,000 people. And if I get even remotely close, I've paid for half of my bond. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, the world is different now just by the advent of AI. And I don't know if enough entrepreneurs are rethinking the foundational level of, okay, well, if the cost to build is basically $300, then with 3 customers, I can recoup my actual investment capital. And then the whole app is profitable. So why do I need 1 million users? Why? And this takes me to, I'm sorry to bring Kevin Kelly up again, but the guy is just, he's so prolific. Somebody wrote an article about him earlier this year. And the article was titled Flounder Mode. And I love that. Kevin Kelly's premise is really simple. He flounders from one thing to the next, from interesting project to interesting project. He was the futurist consultant on Minority Report for Steven Spielberg. He has done some of the most incredible things in the world. And his whole argument is, why can't we all be more like actors? They do a movie, spend 3 years on it, 1 month on it, 6 months on it, and then move on to the next one and hope that that one hits. And in a career, an actor can do 100 movies. An entrepreneur, why aren't you doing one thing? Why are you doing lots of things? Why aren't you focusing? And my brain doesn't work that way, dude. I'm not a focus guy. I'm an experiment guy. I'm a risk guy. So I'm embracing this flounder mode and building lots of fun, different things that plug holes. Good weeds, buy home helper. And then the next one I'm really excited about is called No Bullshit.
Yeah, please tell me more about it.
Yeah, nobullshit.co. And this one I've built because I believe that there is a very real market of people who are entering the world of entrepreneurship and business building who don't know what they don't know. And I'll give you the example. The person in my head is 35 to 55 years old. They have been an accountant for 20 years, and they have seen things that nobody else could possibly have seen without spending 20 years in an accounting job at a firm. And they want to build something. They want to build an app. And somebody tells them about Lovable or Replit or Claude Code, and they start building, and then they get frustrated because the app won't put the thing where they want it to go, or the thing won't do what they're asking it to do. And my analogy is really simple. It won't do that because you've driven a car for 25 years. It doesn't mean you know how to build an engine. You've used apps for 10, 15 years. Doesn't mean you know how to build an app. You've got an idea that Replit makes so easy for you to now just turn into an app. But there's more to product sense and building an app than just the creation of the first version of the thing. And I think it's important that anybody listening understands this deeply. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Google, Meta, they all spend billions of dollars so that you don't feel like it's difficult to use their app. So that you feel like it's easy to make the thing they've made. You know, Rick Rubin's Reducer? Facebook, all of these companies spend billions reducing their apps down to the core thing that the user needs at the time. And here you are thinking, I can just spin up Replit for $20 and have an app that's production ready. Well, you can, but not really. So what No Bullshit does is I take a group of 10 to 20 people on an 8-week program. It's not a course where you learn theoretical shit. It's a build sprint where you and me sit on a call once or twice a week and we build together. You tell me what you're struggling with and I tell you, and I promise you, dude, I've done this. Literally, I've said to people, just click that button. And they're like, no, I don't want to click that. It's too scary. I'm like, no, just click it. It's fine. Nothing will happen. No, I don't know. Like, motherfucker, click the button. Nothing is going to happen.
You're not going to break it.
Yeah, there's like a generational gap that happens. And somebody pointed this out to me recently that millennials, and I hate generational theory. I hate it. I think it's full of crap. But my generation, I was born in 1984. When I was 11, I got an internet activated computer. And at the time in 1995, I was one of 30,000 internet connected computers in the country. But what that meant was, yes, I was exceptionally privileged, but it also meant that I had to fend for and build everything I wanted in the world. We didn't have Spotify. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have any of this. So if I wanted music, I had to download Napster and steal it from someone. Like, we had to use our agency into the internet to click things and break things and learn things. All the generations that came after us, because our generation of millennials built the layer of the internet that the world uses now, all of them use user interfaces. They don't build user interfaces. All of them pull things towards themselves as opposed to pushing things out into the world. I think that's a fundamental difference. Is like, I know that what's the worst that can happen? I delete my app. Okay, I'll make another one. Like, well, whatever, man. So what No Bullshit is trying to do is help people just get to the first production ready version of their app. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I'm going to throw a launch event where we're online and I get as many people as I can to see if the 10 apps are interesting to them and get them their first couple of users. Not to scale. This is not an idea of scaling. Everybody's like, AI, you can't build things that scale. Totally agree. But you can build something that gets you your first 100 users, and then you can hire somebody who can scale it for you. So that's what No Bullshit is trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I really love it. It feels like it comes down to this fundamental idea that we were built to create. not just consume.
Totally.
And that's something that I'm really passionate about. And somebody pointed it out to me a couple of years ago. They were like, the original sin was a sin of consumption, like eating instead of creating. And I was like, fuck, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is so interesting.
I want.
There's something so uniquely modern about that too, because the world has made it so easy to consume over the last 15 years. But now with AI, the world has made it really easy to create too. And you were seeing the backlash, right? Artists, traditional puristic artists are going, oh, no, but AI art isn't art. Yes, I don't disagree with you, but it is helping people who never felt like artists before become creators. A software that AI codes is terrible. I don't care. Who cares? I'm not a purist. I don't care about software. I care about the outcome. I care about creating. And I think the purists who are defending their safeguarded walls are the ones saying, no. Not everybody should create software. Screw you, man. You're not special anymore. For decades, engineers have made us feel like we don't belong in the same rooms as them. Well, now we do, because we are the ones who know how to market things to the world. There's a fundamental shift that's happened. I'm seeing engineers all over the world really push back against people like me who are founder first, or marketing first, or business first, and going, no, you can't build software. Oh yeah, watch me.
Yeah. Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer, man.
Let me build this out for you real quick. I mean, that's super fascinating and interesting. And one of the things that I've been thinking about quite a bit is this, I was listening to Bronwyn Williams talk about AI and writing. And one of the things that feels under threat is writing. And also in art, because we collect art and design, and the relationship between where is the real threat with AI in that, and is there a real threat and stuff. And what's interesting for me is that in coding, nobody gives a shit who coded it. It doesn't matter whether an AI coded the back end of it or a human code. If it works and it does what I want it to do, who cares? I'm not paying for something because it's handwritten code. Nobody cares. I have no relationship with the person on the other end of the product. But in art, there's something that's a little different. So when I'm engaging with a book, I'm not engaging with the content. I'm engaging with with the person who wrote the book, because that's what I care about. So I'm engaging with the creator to a large extent. And I think there's a gray area, and some things more than others. Music is an interesting one for me, because a lot of music, I don't care who made it. Like the music that's in the background of an ad, or maybe the music is in a game, or the music that's playing right now outside my office on our little HomePod. I just went, hey Siri, play music. And I was like, I don't care. It's sort of, oh no, it's starting up. Shut up, Siri.
Do you think that's
I don't care.
contextual
it's
to
background noise? And if that was generated by an AI and it's good, it makes no difference to me. But when there's an engagement with the creator, that's what I'm buying when I'm buying the book, because I want to know what Rick Rubin's ideas are. I want that. So that's the thing.
It's so interesting that you separate musicians out from authors in this regard, because I want to hear what Dave Grohl, his lyrics are. I want to hear his perspective. I've bought into 20 years of his perspective. The new album I'm literally listening to while I was doing the dishes this morning. I was never listened to a Foo Fighters AI album. Never. Never in a million years.
So I think there's sort of a both and, or not a paradox, but a sort of a scale. With music, I love certain artists. I'm a massive Bjork fan. There's my Bjork CDs up on my shelf still that I got the original ones. And then I would always buy that or listen to that because I want to know what she's making. I think she's one of the most incredible artists in the world, right? But when it comes to friends of ours, they do like a jingle or a theme song or a thing for conferences. And they charge a lot of money to write this theme song for the, whatever bank's annual conference. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, because now they can just go, hey, AI, we want a song that's about bravery and whatever our conference theme is. And nobody that sits there cares. It's cool. And it can be cool. It can still be cool. And
for their business, that is now increased margin for them. So it's the same business, and it's the customer's fault for not asking who made this or not caring. And I get it. That is a business to me. And I think, Pierre, this is the conversation that people aren't having in this regard. Is I think that much like when the Gutenberg press came out, there were people who wrote, and then they were like, I'm not going to read a book if it's not handwritten. Or I'm not going to read a letter if it's not handwritten. Yes, maybe for a short period, and then you're the purists. I think it's like that for code. I think it's like that for music. I think that the world is splitting into those who will never and those who will. Those who will never use AI and those who will use AI.
Yeah.
Totally fine. I don't think we're in the phase right now where it's either or. I don't think that's either or. It's the same as saying, I'll never read a book if it was researched with the internet. Okay, so you want the person to go into a library. Like
Yeah.
that's the best. The world changes, and we're just in that phase where we're resisting the change, but it's
Yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah.
And we're just going
Yeah.
to split into, okay, cool. Dave Grohl, I don't know if you know this about the Foo Fighters, but a few albums ago, they bucked the trend and recorded their album live in one shot. And
Oh, cool.
there was no auto tune. There was no anything. They plugged into their amps and they recorded it. One of my favorite albums of theirs because it's raw
Yeah.
and it's authentic. And I'm now seeking that out, right? A friend of mine, I'm stealing it from her and she's given me permission. She said that she believes that in the world now, people are searching for imperfect and in-person.
Mm.
And I love that. And I think
Yeah.
that applies to what we're talking about, right? What is the imperfect version of the thing? That maybe is the thing that I'm more interested in. But if I'm playing a video game, I don't want it to be imperfect. I want it to be the perfect version of that. So yeah, use AI. Go ahead and code it. If it's music, I want to hear your fingers mess up the chord. That's totally
Yeah.
cool. And for art, I don't want to buy an AI produced piece of art. I really don't. I want the human experience of that. And so I think it's horses for courses in this regard.
Yeah. 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 It's I mean, super, super fascinating conversation. And I think there's lots of places where people get scared or where they're kicking back unnecessarily. And it's like I always use like the classic example would be like Napster and the rise of the MP3, and then how the music industry was just like to the courts and we're fighting this thing instead of Steve Jobs goes, hey, iPod, like, let's do something else.
Totally.
Like, really interesting. And also, I mean, the Gutenberg press is an interesting example because there was a guy, and I've forgotten his name now, that said he's so worried about this thing because now the sewers are going to be clogged with ink and paper with the crap that people are going to print and write, right?
That's
Which is
funny.
very true. Like, because it all of a sudden it democratizes it and now everybody has access to it and now you can print whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And like AI is the same because now you just see the world is flooded. Like if you go into LinkedIn, like every second post says, quietly, change was happening underneath the surface. And it drives me like batshit crazy. But it's actually you get a lot of crap and that does happen, but it doesn't mean the good stuff isn't good. Like, and to what extent do you use AI in your art is interesting as well. Like, do you, like Bronwyn uses example, like, do you use a spell checker? Like, why? Does it count? Is it now not you? So, but you know where that line is, where you ask, because I'm busy with 2 books at the moment. So one compiling my daily letters into, I want to do a 365, a letter for every day of the year that I can book. And then the other one is a book on Only the Brave, which is like my kind of framework. And for Only the Brave, I don't want to use AI or not a lot for other than for grammar and checking and 1 or 2 other things maybe. But for the 365 book, like that, all of that content exists. I need to compile it into some sort of format. And I'm like, this is perfect. Like it's still my words. I just need to sift through it and filter and organize the structure.
Totally.
Like this is perfect. Like I have no qualms about using it for that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's interesting.
I'm desperately trying to separate out the idea that AI is this unknown big thing that's so shocking. It's just a new technology. And what I say to people who are anti-AI for things like art, design, whatever is, okay, do you use Figma to design anything? Why don't you use pen and paper? Figma is an updated version of design that people create art using Figma, but it's assisted by the machine. Like it or not, it is machine assisted. It's not AI assisted, but it's not hand drawn. There is something it's what I've written down in my notes here is stoicism and time help me with this a lot. Why do we need to, the stoicism part I've totally spaced on, but the time part is the one that really hooks me here is on a long enough time scale, none of this is relevant. Because if we go back just 50 years, there wasn't anything we're using today. And if you go forward 100 years, there'll be things we use today that don't exist anymore. So we're all upset about something that is relatively irrelevant. What we should be looking at is what is the thing we're doing with that? What are we producing in the world? And how does it harm or create good in the world? And the example that I'm reminded of recently is, I don't know if you know this, but you know that Socrates wrote nothing down, ever.
Oh, yeah, he said it like writing
makes
is
your
the
brain
devil's
weak.
work. Something makes your brain weak. You shouldn't even write it. Terrible, yeah.
So think about that for a second. The most seminal philosopher in Western philosophy never wrote anything down, and everything we know of his writing is all hearsay from a guy who was on the earth 90 years after him. They didn't even overlap. It's hearsay. Socrates' writing is basically hearsay. Now, take that as you will, but it just shows you that even the smartest people in the world who saw the world in these most unique ways were like, oh, technology is so bad. We wouldn't argue now that writing anything down damages your brain. Like, just a long enough time scale, right? And then the last thing I'll say on this and the writing thing is Benedict Evans. I don't know if you've come across him, but he's a technology researcher and guy, pundit. And he writes a report every quarter, every year on big trends. And his report came out last week. And I read through the whole thing. It's 200 pages, something ridiculous. But the one thing that stood out for me is he did some studies, or he read some studies on when teams introduced AI into their software. And I think that this is a key conversation, is the use of AI is inevitable. Every person and every company needs to start deciding at what phase and stage do they use AI. And here's the example. If I write a keynote and I use AI from the beginning, and it helps me with the scripts and it puts the script down for me and I'm working with it, I cannot learn the script. It's not in my brain because it didn't come from my brain.
I've tried
I did this.
Well. Doesn't
I did
actually
it.
work.
I did it. I wrote a whole keynote, 25 minutes. And in our world, 25 minutes is an easy thing to remember. Like, you can learn it very quickly. Weeks rehearsing. And I kept stumbling and fumbling until it hit me in the face that it's because the script wasn't mine. So I canceled everything. And then I used AI much later in the process. So it did the research for me, but it did none of the writing for me, none of the first script, none of the themes, none of anything. And then right at the end, I asked it to review and question anything. But the middle chunk, the production chunk, was my brain, my ideas, my thoughts. And I'm pushing people a lot at the moment because a lot of people forget that they've allowed AI to become their workflow. And I was on a call with a lady. I help Rich. I'm one of the speaker coaches on Story to Stage. One of the ladies said, yeah, I use AI and it helps me come up with analogies. And I said to her, do you come up with the analogy or does it come up with the analogy? And to her credit, she said, oh, shit, I'm going to have to get back to you because I'm not sure. I said to her, this is the nuance. This is the thing that people need to observe about themselves is what are your agency and your thinking are you taking away by letting AI come in? And let's go back to Kevin Kelly's statement, right? That AIs run on the predictable. So if you're letting AI come up with the analogy, guess what? It's a predictable analogy. That's it. That is, Pierre, I don't think enough people understand what AI is actually doing. And somebody explained it to me in the simplest way.
They're like, oh, it's thinking.
Here's the simplest way for me to explain this, and it really helped me understand it. All AI is doing is guessing the most likely next word. That's it. What it's done is it's been trained on everything that's ever been produced digitally in the world, and then it is guessing that of everything I've read, what Nic is looking for, this is the likely next word in the answer. That's it. And then I don't know if you know Rand Fishkin. He's an SEO expert in America. He's now got a business called SparkToro, which is not relevant, but him and his team did research. They got hundreds of people to post the same question to their AI multiple times. And do you know what happened? Not a single answer came back the same. Think about that for a second, and let me ask you a question that you should ask your AI and see if you trust it. You're in a forest, you pick up a mushroom, you take a photo of the mushroom and you say, can I eat this mushroom? And you ask that question 4 times, you will get 4 different answers. They might be similar in theme, similar in context. They might say, try this, try a little bit, but ultimately you will not get the same answer. That's because it's guessing what the most likely and predictable next word is. It doesn't know the answer for certain. That should fundamentally change how you do. You want it to write on your behalf. Are you crazy? It's guessing what it thinks the world wants the next predictable answer to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
AI, you insert it into your flow where you think your skill set requires it. And my argument is the more of an expert you are, the later in your game you should insert AI.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, man. Like that's what it's a probability engine. And people are going on, it's thinking, it's conscious. I was like, dude, it's not. It's guessing. It's just like if you look at the maps that it creates, it's super fascinating how it sort of maps the word banana and then how close is banana in relation to the word yellow and to the word fruit. And then that's the way
Yeah.
that it gets with these little probability kind of maps and they
Interesting.
work in 3D space. So that's really cool when you go and look at those, like the
Yeah.
math behind it, like super
Yeah.
interesting. And then it learns over time. It goes like, oh, well, banana is actually closer to yellow than it is to green because it's more
Fruit or
often
whatever.
we
Yeah.
experience it as yellow
Wow.
than green. So, and then it creates these relationships between all the words that exist in all of mankind, of humankind. And then that's how it works. And now you want to tell me it's
Wild.
intelligent. And one of the
Yeah.
things, this is my freaking biggest bugbear at the moment. Like I go nuts when I saw somebody the other day in a keynote. First of all, tell everybody that Elon Musk's IQ is 155. And I'm like, dude,
Come on.
first of all, there's no way, show the test. Like there's no test out
Yeah.
there where
He
it's
would
been
never have
published.
done a test.
Well, like hook and it's like, dude, yeah. So there's multiple things wrong with that. And then the next thing this person says is, ChatGPT's IQ is like 160 or whatever it was, right? More than Elon Musk's. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like that is the worst comparison in the entire world. And I actually went onto ChatGPT and I said, "What's your IQ?" And it literally started laughing. And it said, "That is like asking, what is the horsepower of a violin?" It's like that's the wrong question.
Like asking what an ant's SAT scores are.
Yeah, it's like it's not intelligent.
The wrong measure.
It drives me batty when people say that. So but it's good at that. And like there's one of my favorite writers is Spencer Clavin. He's like very super obscure. It's almost like I don't want to tell people about him because then he's going to get really famous. Everybody's going to start, it's like my little special
I love
thing.
that.
So Spencer Clavin is a ancient literature kind of professor, doctor, like young guy. He's like 30 something, like really super young guy. Translates ancient texts from the Greek and Latin and studies Homer and the Odyssey and like all these things. And he wrote this article the other day about how writing is thinking. So I'll link to it in the note as well. And he says like, we believe that our ideas are just these fully formed, polished jewels that just have to get mined. But that's not how thinking works. Like thinking doesn't work like that. Thinking, your ideas, when you write, it's this muddy kind of mess of crap that you have to wade through and you have to kind of mold this thing out of chaos and nothing. And that's how thinking works. And that's why when you, like, my suspicion is when I have tried this, like get AI to generate a script for a keynote, that's why I can't memorize it, because I didn't go through the work of thinking and like really getting into the mess of it.
And mapping it to your brain, right? When you're thinking,
yeah.
Dude, you're so right. I've been saying this for a while. The last 2 years, I've been using transcription software for AI. And if you're listening to this and you don't, it is a life-changing hack for working with AI. There you go.
My little Claude. That's my little Claude AI note taker. I freaking love it so much.
It's a wild thing. So when I'm talking to AI about my spec-driven development, I'm actually talking to it. And I think that context matters here, right? Because the way that I'm trying to get this to other people to understand, because I'm a writer, I think like a writer, and you're right, there is editing that happens. But what people don't understand, if you aren't a careered writer or speaker, is there is different editing that happens in your brain between thinking and speaking and thinking and writing. Vastly different outputs. When you talk, you don't hear yourself. You don't realize that there are probably 60% more words than you need. And I would argue that that number might even be too low. Writers, this is why Rick Rubin's job is to reduce, not to produce, because we all produce enough shit in the world. The job is to reduce. And that is what writing is. It's a reduction of fluff. And so there are moments with AI that I will talk to it. And there are moments where I'm like, talking is not working. I must type, because I need to think about what I want it to do before I talk at it. And it just does whatever I'm thinking. And Dude, there's so much here. A friend of mine used to say, this was when I was still a very young entrepreneur, like, how do you justify charging this much money for a design? And he would say, I'm not charging you for this design. I'm charging you for the 20 years it took me to learn how to solve your problem. That's the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
this is the writing thing, is not, you're not reading me because I've spent time you're reading because it's taken me so long to whittle down this thing into a perfect book that I believe belongs in the world. Like, it's that editing that is so important. Yeah. Interesting, man.
Yeah, dude.
Interesting.
No, I mean, it's very fascinating. And I think we're all going to obviously keep on learning and keep on making glorious mistakes. Like, I had the Whisperflow app and I deleted it. I stopped using it because I didn't like the way it changed my words when I was using it for email. Like, I don't use that word. Like, I would not use that word. I would use this word. And it took away the surprise element in my writing. And I don't want to lose the skill of writing, like the little human element. I like using this word. I like starting a sentence without a proposition. Like, that sort of,
you can change that, right? I found that exact problem and I turned it off.
Yeah, I tried and made it. I made like a peer mode on it where I prompted it, this is the way that I like to speak and stuff. But I just was never was feeling that I started missing some elements to it. So yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to actually observe that because you're right. Maybe I need to be a bit more specific about this. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to take a look. There you go. None. Transcribe exactly what you said, including mistakes. That's the guy I want. Thank you. Thanks, Pierre. That helps.
I'll give that a go. Dude, this has been so much fun. I think we're like almost an hour and a half into it.
Sure, yeah.
Pocket here.
This has been so much fun. It's been a long time since I've recorded such a long podcast. Thanks.
Yeah, it was super awesome. And I'll link to everything in the show notes and then we'll figure it out. It'll be awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thanks so
much for your time, appreciate you reaching out. Yeah, what a fun chat. Enjoy your weekend.
Cool, dude. You too. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for listening or watching, and thank you for being on this journey with me as we try and figure out and find our way through the fog of life and work. So I've been writing a really short little daily letter that comes out each weekday, and literally very short. It's less than 50 words, and it is a burst of inspiration with some thoughts on strategy, how to find your way, how to become a better human being and do work that matters. You can go to thisispierre.co/daily letter to sign up and become a part of this community and hear about all the things that we get up to firsthand. Thank you for being a part.